It's good to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy. Back to Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brewers, the show where I take my first pass at the Commander and try to wrestle on a budget on my quest to brew the magic world. You know the motto, baby. It's ABB, always be brewing. That's what we're back to do today. That deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. Those I'd really appreciate if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider checking out those links in the description. I'd appreciate it. But today we're continuing through our Avatar content, and today we're talking about Sokka and Suki, one of the multiple new partner matchups they have in the scene boxes. Sokka and Suki are a 3-mana Jeskai commander. Whenever they or another ally we control enter, we can attach an equipment to them, which is a really nice ability. And then whenever an equipment we control comes in, we get to make an ally creature token. So just like a lot of this set, when it comes to the main characters, they're all allies and they care about allies, and that's something we're going to make sure, of course, we take advantage of in the deck, right? But the other thing is this equipment. Anytime an equipment comes in, you're making an ally. Anytime an ally comes in or Sokensuki comes in, you get to attach an equipment to it. And so I think we can take advantage of the equipment as well, try to marry them together and get a bunch of value. But I want to say a quick thank you to the channel members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in seeing all of our videos just a little bit earlier for just $1 a month, consider checking that out down below for me. Well, all right, since we care about equipment, we of course want to make sure that we have equipment to use. And there's a lot of different ways you can approach equipment. I tried my best to take advantage of equipment that will scale into the late game, make our board better, especially things like Andril that are going to put a counter on all of our creatures whenever the equipped creature attacks. My thought process here is if we're going to try to make a board of 1/1 allies, let's buff them, right? Let's give them ways to get better. Something like Adaptive Omni Tool is going to start digging for more equipment and grows the creature for each artifact we have. The Reality Chip is a creature that's also an equipment and can attach to a creature. When it's attached to the creature, you get to play lands and spells off the top of your library, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, you just get to look at the top card, but hey, it's pretty nice to kind of extend your hand, right? Bioorganic Carapace that just came out in Spider-Man is pretty interesting. Whenever this creature just comes damage to a player, you draw a card for each modified creature you control. Again, pretty cool. Does allow itself to auto-equip when it comes in on its own ability, but that's a pretty nice ability and can help you dig through your deck. I think one of the most obvious ones for a deck like this is going to be Bloodforged Battle Axe. This is a 1-mana equipment that equips for 2/2/0 to the creature. And it says whenever the equipped creature hits an opponent, you make a token that's a copy of it. So first time you hit, you're gonna get 1 copy, so you have 2 battle axes, and then the hope is that right every turn after that, you're continuing to hit more and more, getting more battle axes, right, and allowing yourself to get more value. Helm of the Host can be attached to plenty of our creatures in our deck and just give you a token copy of them that aren't legendary. There's a lot of ways you can approach this. We have a lot of key legends in the deck. Of course, Sokka and Suki is a great one. There's a few other ones that we'll happily take extra copies of. Paradise Mantle can just give the creature it's equipped to the ability to tap for mana and equips pretty cheap. Pit Boy, whenever the creature attacks, lets you draw on the discard, put a counter on it, or untap 2 target lands. Pit Boy is just a nice, cheap equipment that gives you some value. Stoneforge Masterwork, great in a deck like this where we're going to have a lot of allies. Gives you a creature +1/+1 for each other creature that shares a creature type with it. So again, we're going to have a lot of allies, meaning if you attach this to an ally, it's going to get a big buff. Sort of the Squeak says the creature gets a buff for each creature you control with base power and toughness 1. Again, we have a lot of allies that are going to come in as 1/1s, so the Sort of Squeak is going to be a nice buff. Trusty Boomerang is another great example of an equipment we can try to play over and over again. So it comes down for 1, it equips for 1, and then it says the equipped creature has 1 tap target creature, and return this back to its owner's hand. So this is really interesting because remember, when it comes in, we make an ally. That ally automatically attaches to Trusty Boomerang if we want it to. Otherwise, Trusty Boomerang can be used to, tap our creatures, bounce itself back to our hand, and keep playing it over and over again to generate allies. And that's a great way, right, to make our board start to go wide. Wrecking Ball Arm can attach to a legendary for 3 or something else for 7. But again, a creature has base power type of 7/7 and can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Again, we get to hopefully auto-equip these for free to our allies, but again, a very powerful way to make a creature pretty big. And those are just a selection of the equipment we're running. That's not all of them. And the nice part about a deck like this is you can make the equipment whatever you want. If you want to go all of the swords, you can do that. There's so many ways to take advantage of it. But we are playing some non-allies in the deck because we still want to care about equipment. And there's so many great creatures that are going to help us do that. Of course, Arden, in my deck, is one of the best at it. At the start of your turn, you can attach any number of auras or equipment you control to target permanent or player. So you can take one of your creatures and attach many of your equipment as you want to it, making it really good. Dalico's taps for mana, but only to cast artifact spells or activate their abilities. And then it gives all our crit creatures flying and haste. I love it. Again, really beneficial when you can bring an ally in and automatically have it attached, right, with Sokka and Suki's ability. Fearing gives all of our crit creatures haste, and whenever a non-token equipment comes in, you can make a copy. You get to make a copy of it, except it costs 2 less to equip, and it goes away at the beginning of the next upkeep. This is really nice for our equipment because not a ton of it's legendary, so we get to really gain access to not only the extra ally that gets made, right, but equipping them and using them, the turn. Pierce Their Paladin, of course, reducing the cost of our equip as long as we have 3 or more artifacts and drawing us a card whenever equipment come in. Again, really nice with that trusty boomerang Bloodforge Battle Axe game plan as well. Sokka Swordmaster has all of our equipment spells cost 1 less to cast for each ally we control. Again, should be able to reduce them to 0 if we have enough allies. And then begin combat on our turn, we can attach an equipment we control to Sokka, which is pretty cool. We have things like Open the Armory, and Steel Shaper's Gift, which are going to allow us to go get key equipment we want. I mean, I think something like Bloodforge Battle Axe makes a ton of sense, but there's so many other great choices. Inventory management basically says at instant speed, you can just, for every equipment you control, choose a creature to attach it to. So we can just completely reconfigure our equipment and where they're attached to. And then if you want to take advantage of replaying some of your equipment, you have something like Retract, which just returns all artifacts we control to their owner's hand. So we could then replay all of our equipment again, getting more allies and allowing them to attach to the things we want them to. Fighter class comes in, lets us go get an equipment of our choice. Level 2 reduces our equip costs, and then level 3 is going to force a creature to block if we want to. Mainly fighter class is there for the first one, and the second one is also nice. Forge Anew is going to reduce the first equip we paid it each turn to 0, but it allows us to equip at instant speed on our turn. And then Sigarda's Aid lets us play equipment as though they have flash, and then whenever an enchantment comes in at all, you can attach it to a creature you control. This is a huge ability, right? Getting around the need to pay those equip costs, hopefully. But I don't think we want this to just be an equipment deck, right? We're going to be making a lot of these 1/1 ally tokens. And remember that all of our allies from the old Zendikar sets and some of the new ones care about things that happen when an ally comes in. So here Gomofado gives out Indestructible. Crucible Warlord puts a counter on each ally we control. The new Appa from the Scene Box gives them all Flying and Vigilance. And so you can start to see that we can build value on our board every time one of these allies comes in, and you can see where these can start to set up value. Lantern Scout hands out lifelink. Ondu Champion hands out Trample. Ondu Cleric is going to gain us life equal to the number of allies we control every time a new one comes in. Whereas the Blade Master hands out Double Strike. Seagate Lore Master is going to tap to draw us a card for each ally we control. And then we have the Jeskai Sokka that we covered yesterday on the channel that gives all our other allies menace and prowess, and then whenever we cast non-creature spells, we make allies. So you can start to see that we're really bringing this value together as far as other allies. But there's also support cards, right? Renewed Solidarity at the end of our turn is going to make a copy of every ally token we had that came in that turn. Sokka's Charge is going to give out Double Strike and Lifelink for all of our allies during our turn. Three Tree City can tap for mana equal to the number of allies we control. So you can start to see that it's not just an equipment deck. We really want to take advantage of the allies as well, and there's so many ways in our deck to do that. But I've said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. This is my first shot at Sokka and Suki, and I think going into testing, what the real question for the deck is going to be is which equipment do we need to play? I did my best to kind of hit the spread on useful equipment and value equipment and utility equipment. But I think as you make the deck better, you're going to target bigger and better equipment. Things like Excalibur, which can come down for very cheap and give a big buff. Some of our swords are going to be very useful in our deck. Sword of Feast and Famine, sort of the one that proliferates if we choose to go after the counters. There's ones that, can ramp you and blink creatures. There's so many of those swords that are such great value. They just come with a little bit of a price tag. And, we have equipment that give you extra combats. Things like Genji Glove or Hexplate Wallbreaker that can allow you to take multiple combats if that's the route you want to go to continue to add more of those. So by no means is the section of equipment that we've chosen for this deck perfect, but it's a good place to start. And as you play your playtest, you should be able to kind of see, hey, I need more equipment that do X, or I need more equipment that do Y, right? So that you can better facilitate what your deck wants to do. But let's do what we love to do on the channel the most and get into our playtests. Remember, the goal of playtests on our channel is not to find magical Christmas land. It's not just to show off all our best plays. but to get in some gameplay scenarios and kind of see what's our deck trying to do and how we're going to set our game plan up in these hands. Here we've got a two-lander, three with the Felwar Stone. So again, if your opponent's playing red, white, or blue, we're good to go, right? Felwar Stone should be able to help us out. Otherwise, I would probably put this way. But you got the Wrecking Ball arm. We've got Resolute on the top end. We've got some counterplay, which is really useful, right? Opponents are going to be able to probably pretty quickly figure out how to deal with us. I like getting just the Felwar Stone down in here. Again, this turn we're going to go after getting Sokka and Suki down, right? So when they come in, we could attach an equipment. If we had a one-man equipment, we could attach, but we don't. And then again, whenever an equipment comes in, we make an ally. So nothing we can do this turn. We'll just hold up our counterplay just in case somebody has something good. Now in this turn, we got a couple options. If our opponents can tap for white, I think Cloud's the best choice. Let's us go get equipment of our choice. I mean, again, I love the idea of going for something like Bloodforge Battle Axe, something that can help us to start go wide. Or, we can go Reality Chip plus the Wrecking Ball arm, make a couple allies this turn, and then try to get the Reality Chip attached next turn. Now, there is a world, right, where we can play the Reality Chip first and we get to see what's on top, so we kind of know what's coming. Well, there's a land, and it's a pretty good land. I don't know that I want to give that one away, right? That might make me want to play the Wrecking Ball arm a little bit more to get another ally. Now, remember, when the ally comes in, it can attach the equipment automatically. So we could have these attach automatically if we want to. Remember, because the ally we're making, oh, sorry, no, I apologize. The ally comes in on enters. So this could attach to the first one. Yeah, this would come in and then you'd make this. Well, no, it would still be able to see it, wouldn't it? Yeah, we could if we want to. I think I like Reality Chip a little bit better on Sokensuki, but I'm just realizing I don't think it matters because we're still able to look at the top card, right? So then as we come to our next turn, we see a Prairie Stream on top. Now, we could play lands from the top. So we could have played that last turn. So let's say we would have drawn the Prairie Stream this turn. We'll put that in tap this turn, and there we go. We got one on top. So you could almost have argued, why not play the plains off top, right, to see what you dig for more. So let's do that. Just because we're in a play test, we can manipulate these things. We see a Sword of Polishers on top. 6 mana. I love the idea of something like Resolute would give these guys double strike, but I think I'd go after Cloud again. Now we get to go get our choice of a equipment we want. Again, I love the idea of something like Bloodforge Battle Axe, but I mean, I could also see something like Anduril, right? Starting to get it down and get it going so that you can start growing your entire board. Now, if I play Anduril, that's going to make me an ally. Right now, I can attach it there if I want to. That ally can't attack this turn, although it is 3 to equip with Anduril, so I can't even get Anduril on Sokka and Suki this turn anyway. But again, I don't mind this. Now you've got a couple nice pieces there. We did 2 for Cloud, 2 for that. There's Swiftfoot Boots, which we could play off the top, right? Makes us another ally. I don't know that I need to attach that to the ally. I'd kind of rather attach it to, one of these guys, right? But now here's a great setup turn. We've got a few more equipment in. I think we want to start moving Anduril over to something like these guys. Same thing with, actually, arguably, you want to put it on Cloud, right? Because it says as long as Cloud's equipped, if an ability of it or an equipment attached to it triggers, it goes off additional time. So arguably, we want it on Cloud, right? So this can go off twice. But again, you can start to see we're building the board up. Now here this turn we see Buried Ruin on top. I'll play the Buried Ruin just to see what else we can get. There's Ondu Champion. Don't hate the idea of that. So if I go Anduril here, I've got 4 mana left. This would get everything trampled. That would be good because I'm handing out 4 +1/+1 counters this turn. So I'd say let's do that. Everything gets trampled. We go ahead and attack, and then remember the Anduril gives out 2 tokens twice because we have the City's Blessing. And now we're off to a nice start, right? Getting in and attacking. And again, the downside, right, of the deck is that people can wipe the board. But again, the hope is that you keep the equipment around and you can still re-equip them and use them, right, for value. Let's get into playtest number 2 here. Keeping a 4-lander with there's the Sokka that can reduce them for our allies. There's Paradise Mantle and Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp is really fun because it's a great draw outlet here since we're making 1/1 allies. right? And we can use it to have a nice draw engine, right, when they come down. We'll get Sokka and Suki here, and then we'll bring the Skull Clamp in. That's going to bring the ally, and I'm going to auto attach it just to draw 2 cards. Remember, it gives it +1/-1, meaning this ally is going to die. But the nice part here is that now we're digging, right? We're digging our way into finding some more things. So here, my thought is Sokka. I got 2 mana left. I could make the mantle. That's going to make me an ally. I can attach it to the ally if I want to. But my idea was going to be just to clamp it. They're reduced by 1 for each ally we control, which is currently 3. I think I'm just going to clamp it to draw. I think that is something that's going to be really useful. Now we can put Pip-Boy in for free because of that 2 cost reduction. I can equip it. It's not a terrible idea. I'd almost rather have it on one of these two. But again, beginning of combat, there we go. We can put the Pip-Boy on there, and we could attack this turn. No, we played Sokka this turn. I don't want to clamp again. I think that's too many cards in my hand. But now you could start to see where we had a nice turn setting up. And now as we come into the next one, 6 mana, again, we can get the mantle attached to, we could get the mantle free attached to that one, right? Because that's Sokka's ability, right? Whenever another ally comes in, you can attach equipment to it. You can thought cast 1, 2, 3, 4. So this thought cast is just going to be 1 mana. Don't hate the idea of that. Try to dig a little bit more. I don't even mind the idea of something like Kazul Warlord. You could have something attached to it and get a counter on all of our things, start getting them to grow. I could always clamp the ally if I want to, but so if I do the Warlord, I can attach something to it if I want. Otherwise, we're just going to end up with a counter on all of our allies, right? Would it have made more sense to clamp this ally first before playing the Warlord? Because I can tap it for mana, right? I'm just trying to think, does digging help me anymore? Right? I don't think so. I think it's the Warlord, take the counter, put the Pip-Boy here, and then take the attacks. I'd probably untap the lands just to hold up, counterplay, protection, removal. And then our next turn, Masterwork's great. That's a great thing to attach to something. Now that they're going to have trample this, or now they're going to start getting counters. That seems pretty good. Can't clamp this now, right? But if I play the Masterwork, which is free off this, I get the ally. Now I can clamp it to draw 2, and we still get the counter on everything. Just gonna do this to make putting the counters on them easier. We still get the counters and everything from the Warlord. Land in. So I've used 1 mana so far, right? Off of the because the Masterwork was free, but I paid the 1 mana to clamp. Let's see what, pay 2 to put that here. Arcane Signet. And I almost want to just hold up. I guess you can get the Cigar to 8 in. I almost just really want to hold up removal, right? We have some great removal. Go to combat. We could always move the mantle if we wanted to. Otherwise, nice attacks here, right? I think I like the draw discard here. Ooh, Master of Ingenuity is great. Mainly because then it can come in as a copy of Stonework, which is a great choice, I think. And we have enough mana, right? This is free right now. I'd have it come in as a copy of the Masterwork. That's going to make me an ally. Again, all these guys are going to get a counter, including the ally that just came in. So I can't get around that, I guess I can go to equip that next turn. But again, my thought here is hold up the mana for these guys. Hold up the mana for the Boros Charm. And then as we come back to our turn, you can attach that to... I guess we can auto-attach it with Sokka's ability, right? Or you could attach it to something like the Warlord if you want. All we're really missing is another way to punch through. Right? But the point is now you're getting all these buffs. You can keep drawing with that. If we need to remove the board, you can use the Avatar's Wrath. But I don't mind that. I think that's a nice playtest. We kind of ran out of card draw. Maybe that's something we think about. And it's only because of the downside of the Warlord with the Skull Clamp, right? But the question is, I don't think how many games you're going to see the Warlord and the Skull Clamp at the same time, right? So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. It's just because Nombos exist doesn't mean you're always going to see them. Here, you keep it a 3-lander with Soul Ring. There's a Battle Axe and that Carapace, and then Dalichos. I like this one a lot. Dalichos is going to be really useful to help us get things down. Again, not going to put down Battle Axe just quite yet because I want to get the value from it coming in. So now you can get them down here. I can pay 2 here to cast. So I've got basically 4 mana to cast those. Battle Axe, make an ally. Guess equip it to Sokka. She now has flying and haste. And then the hope is you hit somebody, making another Battle Axe, making another ally, and then equip it to one of those allies, right? So now, they're going to have flying and haste, which is great. And then you come to the next turn. Wish I had double red for this Embercleave. I'm just missing that second red, and then Embercleave would be so good. You get the Carapace in, get it attached to another one. Now you're going to start really drawing, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Carapace. Make an ally, attach the Carapace to one of the allies. So now we got 3 creatures with flying and haste. I think we got, 2, 3 mana left? Rowdy Chip, make another ally, look at the top. Lantern Scout's going to be great next turn. So now, you go ahead and attack. These guys are all in the air, so I mean, they're more likely to hit, right? They're not guaranteed to hit, but they're more likely. I'm going to guess that you're going to end up getting 2 more Battle Axes, right? Which is going to end up being 2 more allies. Again, equip them up. And then we can have go off last. So that is on damage. So the nice part here is that we can have these 2 go off first. Then the Carapace is going to go off and draw a card for each modified creature you control, which is 5. So now we can dig even deeper, right? We play that land to not lose our hand. But now, again, we're digging deeper. Here's the champion for Trample. Again, we would have loved to have seen another red source for that Embercleave. But again, now you can see where these Battle Axes are coming in real handy to continue to dig deeper. And I think it's one of those ones that a lot of people are going to be tutoring for, right, in their game plans, because they know that it's one that can freely get them more allies. Let's do one more playtest here. Keeping a 4-lander with Swansong. There's the Felwar Stone and Firion. Remember, Firion's great, right? Doubling up on some of those equipment that are coming in. I think I'll just do Sokka there. Here, my thought is Firion. The fail is pretty good. I was thinking Pip-Boy. So you get a copy of Pip-Boy. We get 2 allies. I've got 1 mana left, right? Because this was 1, but this one equips for free. So I'd almost rather put it here. Oh, well, I guess they equip. We give the equipped creatures haste. So whatever we equip this original one to. Yeah, and now these 2 could attack. I really want to draw a discard for both of them. And then, right, this one goes away. So now we ended up, right, going a little bit deeper on there. We'll play the Conqueror's Flail. Again, same thing happens. You make 2 more allies. This one gets to equip for 0, right, which is pretty nice. I mean, I think I'd go there. There. Could even go Firion if you wanted to. But again, I'd probably go draw discard on the Pip-Boy, and then the Conqueror's Flails are just going to lead to some nice damage. Hopefully there's Dispatch, now a great piece of removal. Ooh, I was really hoping for some card draw on that Avatar's Wrath. Again, we flamed out a little bit harder here. It's kind of unfortunate. I mean, we continue to have the card draw with Pip-Boy, so I mean, we can continue attacking, right? Maybe you move those, just hold up for there. Draw discard where there's Sokka. Again, another way to get more. God, you were really just missing. really now just missing the card draw. So maybe that's something to think about, getting either more ways to draw when equipment comes in or more ways to draw when you hit your opponents, right? I think that's one thing we're kind of seeing. And this is okay. This is the reason playtest exists. Test your deck, put yourself through the runs, and see what value you're missing. But I'd love to know, what do you think of Soka and Suki down in the comment section below? I love the idea for this deck. I think it just takes some iteration and testing on what equipment to run and how to draw cards. But I'd love to know what you think, and I will catch you on the next